AI isn't here to replace educators, it's here to elevate them. But what does this actually look like in higher education? And how do we build AI instructors can actually trust and students can rely on? Today, we're going straight to the source. Welcome to the Hawk's Edge, the official podcast of Hawk's Learning, where we explore insightful conversations on teaching, technology, and transformation in higher ed. I'm your host, Valerie Kramer Ball, and in each episode, we bring you real voices, real challenges, and real innovation that is shaping the future of learning. In today's episode, we are talking about AI in higher ed and beyond the hype, beyond the fear, and into what responsible innovation really looks like. AI, as we know, has quickly moved from a buzzword to reality, and instructors like you are navigating questions about integrity, student reliance, is it ethical? And there are rapidly changing expectations. So you may be asking, and institutions are asking, where does AI fit and how do we implement it wisely? Most importantly, how do we ensure it enhances learning rather than just replaces it? So today I'm joined by Scott Virkler, CEO of Hawk's Learning. Scott has been deeply involved in shaping not only our product strategy at Hawk's, but also our philosophy around AI and how it should be built and governed and how it should serve educators like you and all of our students first. So, all that to say, welcome to the Hawk's Edge, Scott. Tell us just a quick little excerpt about yourself.
Thanks, Valerie. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So yeah, I've been in the tech for more than a couple days, quite a while. Most of it in higher ed, but I've been lucky enough to also do a little bit in K-12 and professional education, and that's good because it helps you give you different perspectives. And all of that's just around, passion for educating and helping others, and that's why I'm here.
That's great. Yes, I know that everyone in education really has a heart for it, and it makes us really feel good at the end of the day, everything that we're doing. So, okay, the conversation. Let's start big picture. And this is our first episode of the podcast, so there may be a few hiccups, but we've got this. The idea is the content, right? So, AI, it feels like it arrived overnight. But from your perspective, what are you seeing right now in teaching and learning, and how did we actually get here?
Well, I mean, certainly within ed tech, there's been an evolution. You know, you know, kind of the beginning stages of this. You could argue went back quite a while, but I like to think of it in terms of there was advanced systems, which is what a lot of the fun when Dr. Hawk started Hawk's Learning. That's we were built off of advanced systems, and then there's some machine learning that evolved into spell checking and some grammar correction. And I remember just not very many years ago, we were trying to put that into some of the products and it just simply didn't work well enough. And look how fast that has absolutely changed to where we are to today. So, yeah, it's very exciting and I'm happy that we're seeing this evolve.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you can just type in, and like you mentioned once, you can build your trip to Italy and back just like this.
Yes. Yeah. Now that was a planner. It's a fantastic thing.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of noise in the market. And before we talk about us at Hawk specifically, can you give us a little background on what the market in general is seeing for AI tools?
Well, I think, there's obviously the emergence of the large language models, the LLMs, the chat GPTs of the world, and the Claudes are rapidly changing uh, all of this. We're definitely seeing the emergence of specialized AI engines for areas of need. And then within that, seeing AI agents to do very specific tasks that those are happening across the marketplace, and we're starting to see that those things start to work their way into the space and what folks are trying. It's it's certainly the enabling of the realization of the benefits from a productivity perspective for specialized learning tools, and that's why we have something like Hawk's AI Tutor. It's exactly that kind of thing.
Yes, that context is so helpful. It also reminds us Even though some of us felt like a buzzword and feels like it just came overnight, it's AI really isn't brand new. But the accessibility and the power of AI is. And so students and instructors, like you mentioned, they're loving the AI tutor. So tell us how Hawks, before we go more into that, tell us how Hawks was an early adopter of technology in general.
Well, I mentioned Dr. Hawks earlier. So he founded Hawks Learning because he knew he was teaching statistics that the more his students would do problems, the better they would do in his class. And so he developed a learning tool, especially for his students use in the classroom, with the whole point of helping them do better. And we were built in that classroom. We weren't built by folks who were doing academic research and getting funding from some other anomaly. This was from the ground up. How do I do better for my students versus just conceptually how might a tool do better? And those are very similar, but they end up being very, very different. Um, and as I mentioned, when Dr. Hawk started that, he was using advanced learning tools as the start, and we have that basis that we're building off of, and now we're integrating modern AI tools into the platform for use by internally for us, for the instructors, and for the students. Now, that said, it's not without its own set of challenges for sure.
Sure. Yes, that's interesting. I always love that story about Dr. Hawks because it really shows how student first that we are. And I always love that about being here at Hawks. So, share more about the challenges you mentioned about implementing AI and how that can be challenging.
Well, one of the first things everyone's tried to do is build AI tutors and to help students. But if you think about what you're trying to do with that, it's simple to get the AI to give you an answer, right? But that's when you're doing tutoring, you don't want to give the answer. So you have to actually break the AI to try to make sure it does not provide answers. And that's difficult, and not necessarily always foolproof. Generally works, but you have to be very intentional. Once you have that figured out, then all of a sudden a new version of the AI comes around and it works a little bit differently. And that's not like troubleshooting regular software, right? The AI, you know, no pun intended, has a brain of its own, right? It works in a little bit different way. So it's not as simple as just saying, "Hey, don't give the answer." It doesn't work that way.
Students wish it did probably
Yeah.
sometimes, but we want them to learn. So, it really is built in a way that helps students. So let's bring it a little closer to home. What is our vision at Hawks Learning when it comes to AI in general? Do we have principles that we live by?
You know the answer to that. Of course we do. We're we're very we have AI very rooted into our culture. But we have a clear set of commitments to put students and instructors and institutions first. So, as we're using it, we want to make sure what we're doing is designed for learning. It's going to have a meaningful impact on education. That our approach is ethical, secure, and transparent. And then lastly, that it's grounded in trusted content. And that's when I was talking about specialized uh, AI engines before. That's when you limit the data set. So if you're just using whatever off of the web, you're going to get just about anything for a response. Versus if you limit the data set or the content that's in it, then the engine could be controlled a little bit better to make sure the responses are more appropriate.
One of the things I do appreciate about our approach is that we aren't building it just because we feel compelled to, like everyone else is. We're building it very deliberately. So can you explain a little bit more of our philosophy behind that deliberate building and integration of AI?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're here to enhance teaching and learning. One thing we're not doing is we're not replacing the instructor. I know sometimes that comes up. It's not doing that. The instructor's not going away. They continue to be the single biggest determinant of how well the students do. Now, that said, we could be a force multiplier to help the instructor. They can't be there all the time for the students, right? So why not have a tool that's helping them in a way that the instructor would like? So, we're very intentional about that and about making the best learning experience that we can for the students that works the way the instructors would like to see it work.
Yes, and how so I love how that you mentioned it could be a force multiplier of the instructor, and we actually just implemented and launched something that would help that. So tell us a little bit about student success, being top of mind and how it helps instructors.
Yeah, so that's always, again, one of our guiding principles, right? Is try to learning outcomes, and that's about student success. And that focus is, how can we provide tools that are going to help the instructors? So one of those things we've done is we've launched a communication tool for the instructors, because one of the challenges they face is how do I communicate broadly and frequently to all of my students. So anything you could do to help that pace. So we created a message assistant. It's in our platform that allows instructors to quickly get a draft message using AI, pulling the data from that student and their grades. And it's a personalized communication. The instructor still reviews it and approves it, but at least gives them a draft of something to work from without having to create it from scratch. It's clearly one of the things they've been talking to us about, and so far so good. They like what we're feeding to them.
Yes, that correlation of motivating students through communication. I mean, one small message could change a whole director trajectory of a student's learning. They might be frustrated, but they get a supportive message from their instructor that actually shows they care, and the whole trajectory of their learning may change. So, it's one of my favorite things that's launched in the platform, and I'm excited to see it grow. So, where does AI we know we're missing where we're making the mark, but what about sometimes or does AI miss the mark?
So I'm going to give you two things on this. One is, a misnomer is, well, AI will just create all the content. They'll create all the assessment questions, and that we've just simply not seen that to be true. It can help do those things faster, but it's still fraught with a lot of errors. And sometimes those errors can be really critical and send a student off on the wrong track. So that's one thing that is a general misnomer in the public. So I would say that was number one. And then number two, I would say it's just, there's been a historical challenge with digital learning tools, the LMS, the SASs, whatever it might be, the homework platforms. There's just a lot of data. And if it's a lot of data and it's not fit for purpose for the instructor, they're just getting buried in the data. They're not actually using it. So it needs to be fit for purpose and actionable for the instructor, which means you as a tool provider like us, you've got to be able to curate that content down to the couple of things that could potentially be most important. Always have the rest of the data there for the instructor to dive in when they need it, but give them just a couple of things that they need to know so they can act for it. So that's something we're certainly intent on fixing. Providing those kind of instructor insights. We're not perfect at it yet, but I think this is another big one.
Yes, awesome. Yeah, we need to keep it easy, right? Keep it simple. So, okay, let's shift gears just a little bit. For instructors who may feel unsure or overwhelmed by AI, it is a lot. What is one mindset shift that you might encourage these instructors who might be fearing some of the AI implementation?
You know, um, when you say that, I always like to pick on my wife a little bit because I'm more the early adapter of tools, electronic tools, and she's, of course, the naysayer. I don't, why do I need an iPhone? That went on for years until all of a sudden she can't put the darn thing down. Um, you know, the market's all over the place when it comes to AI and education right now. The things are moving very quickly. Some schools are prohibiting it. Others are proactively telling students they must use it, or telling instructors you must use it. We're going to measure you. Yeah, one thing I tell you for sure, it's here to stay. It's not going away. Um, so we need to find a way to don't try it. Don't be scared of it. A simple example might be helping you and your students with just some basic AI literacy that,
Mhm.
because they're going to have it when they get into the workplace, or their civilian lives, and make the better they kind of understand what it is and what it isn't is only going to make them make better decisions when it comes to use of AI down the road. So, that becomes a skill in itself. So,
Absolutely.
to help on that front, we're creating an assignment that we're going to launch this summer that instructors can integrate into their courses. It could be, 0 points or whatever, however they want to treat it. Just highlighting important skills that come through AI in the start of their semester when they get into school.
Yeah, they could even put it in their syllabus to make sure they reference that.
Right.
Awesome. So what's one practical step that educators should take when thinking about AI in their classrooms? I love the implementation of the AI literacy. What else?
Well, I mean, as I've pointed out, the market's clearly moving very fast. So you do need to think about safety and security uh, of the tools and the content that you're teaching. That's why we have the guardrails. We have an AI tutor, and one of the really good things I was very happy to see is when we tested it with students. One of the comments they made was how they liked it was had the guardrails. They could tell it did because it didn't get them distracted. Versus if they were on a regular browser, then one thing comes up and one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, they're going out for a drink because AI told them to. Yeah, and not getting their homework done. So those things are super really really important. And yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, let's keep them focused, right? in in their assignment where they need to be. So, okay, this has been such a great conversation. And one thing that we're going to start asking in the Hawk's Edge every interview is, what does transformation in education really mean to you? We've talked about AI and how that's changed, how really technology across higher ed has changed. But what does it mean to you, transformation in education? What would be a dream that you would have to transform education?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to travel all over the country, schools all over the place, hundreds, if not thousands of schools. And the one thing I hear consistent, I heard this pre-COVID, and it's definitely amplified since COVID, is can we get the students that are coming out of high school to know basic math? Yeah, the unpreparedness of those students that are dropping into our school or universities and colleges today, particularly the community colleges, where they lack just basic math skills of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, let alone basic algebra stuff. But if we can, as a society, improve that, then that only is going to make the lives of those students that much better and the lives their families around them as they go forward. So definitely, if we could do something to improve math and our basic skills, that's would definitely be my dream.
Awesome. Yes, they're really the gateway to success in everything we do. I remember being in
Yes.
math class and saying, "I'm never going to use this." Well, you
Look at you
definitely
now.
will. That's right. That's right.
Yes.
So this conversation highlights something really important, that AI isn't the transformation. The transformation happens when we use it intentionally to deepen learning, increase our access, and empower our instructors and students. So, Scott, thank you for sharing your perspective and sharing what Hawks is doing, and for helping shape a vision of AI that's thoughtful, ethical, and grounded in what matters, student success. So, before we close, I'd love to ask you one final question. We may make a tradition of it here on the Hawks Edge, but what's one quick thing that you are most excited about for the future of higher education? You've seen a lot. So, what about the future?
I love the passion of our educators. When you get a chance to meet with them and they really do want to help their students, and they may struggle with how to use AI or how to use this tool or that tool, but they are just really want to be there for the students. Um, that is very encouraging. It's definitely one of the things that keeps me getting up and saying, okay, we can actually help them and make a difference, and that's going to make them have a multiplier effect, as we talked about before. So, for sure, it's that.
Absolutely. Oh, awesome. Brings us full circle to the passion of what we all
Yes,
have working in
yeah, for
education.
sure.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. And for everyone listening, we know you're busy, but if you enjoyed today's episode of The Hawk's Edge, click that subscribe button on your podcast app. And we are built on feedback. So I'd love to hear yours. Send me an email, vball, BAHL, at hawkslearning.com. And you can learn more about Hawks Learning and how we are supporting educators and institutions like yours at hawkslearning.com. So until next time, keep pushing the edge of what's possible in education. This episode was hosted, produced, and recorded by me, Valerie Kramer Ball. Editing and sound design by Liz Four. Music by Ryan Hannafin. Logo design by Caitlin Nepple. Our guest today was Scott Virkler, CEO of Hawks Learning. This podcast is presented by Hawks Learning. Be sure to follow us and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.